Okay, good morning and afternoon. She'll be giving the majority of the presentation, and I'll be here to answer questions afterwards. Before I go any further, I just wanted to give a couple of reminders. The first is that we are recording this, and it will be sent out to everyone who registered. And the second is that we will be answering any questions that you might have after Vinka's presentation. You should see a chat box on the screen with a question section, and you can enter in your questions at any part of the presentation, and we'll get to them afterwards. Now, just on the next slide here, just a quick minute introduction for MarcomCentral. We're located in Solana Beach. We were founded in 2000, and we have roughly 100 employees. And then on my last slide, before we give the presentation over, we are a digital asset management software company, more specifically a distributed marketing platform. We enable marketing teams to store assets within a portal that can then be personalized, customized, and distributed to channels anywhere. So on this graphic, you can see an example of that asset, of the asset types and channels that a user might utilize. There are literally hundreds of different use cases of a system like ours. And today we have Vinka, who is going to discuss how DaVita is using MarcomCentral to control their brand assets through a complete marketing cycle. So with that said, I will now pass the remainder of the time over to Bianca, and we're excited to have this webinar go on.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. Hi, everyone. My name is Vinka Nguyen, like Matt did in the introduction, and I am a marketing project administrator here at DaVita Kidney Care. A little bit of background. I've been with the company for a little over 3 years now, and I'm based out of our world headquarters in Denver, Colorado. I am a part of the field marketing team, which is focused on supporting the field with marketing needs, and we do this in 3 main ways. So first, self-service tools. There are only 3 of us actually who support over 2,500 centers in the field. Since we can't help every facility individually, we focus a lot of our time on creating and managing self-service tools that anyone in the field can use, such as our marketing on demand system, which is the focus of today's webinar. We also offer local consultation support, and lastly, help educate the field on the marketing tools and resources we have available with WebExes like today. Here's a quick agenda, a quick snapshot of what we're going to be covering. So who DaVita is, what issues we've experienced in the past with marketing asset management systems, and our solution, which is marketing on demand with MarcomCentral. So a little bit about DaVita Kidney Care. For anyone that's not familiar, we are a division of DaVita Inc., a Fortune 500 company, which operates through a variety of healthcare services to a patient population through the United States and abroad. Specifically with DaVita Kidney Care, we are a leading provider of kidney dialysis services in the United States, treating patients with chronic kidney failure and end-stage renal disease, and serving over 200,000 patients a year. The company's leadership development initiatives and social responsibility efforts have been recognized by Fortune, Modern Healthcare, Newsweek, and World Blue. If you want any more information, you can visit davita.com. All right, so let's get started. So what our goal was with a marketing asset management site. Again, there aren't enough resources to support every center since there are only 3 field marketing teammates that support over 2,500 centers. Many field teammates have multiple marketing needs. However, they are typically on the center floor as they are nurses and clinic administrators who are not marketing savvy or frequently even computer savvy. So on top of that, local teams are responsible for marketing at a local level. So we needed to provide them with a site to use that would be user-friendly as well as intuitive as possible for their various roles and purposes. So for example, creating materials like new center open house invites or materials to help market their educational classes or materials for information on DaVita and our many patient resources. So what's the issue? We found that field teammates were creating their own ads through random graphic designers or doing it themselves on a Word doc. And honestly, I think everyone in this call knows that is not ideal. On top of that, the other issue was that the field was not aware of the tools and resources that were available to help them to help create brand and legally approved materials. And even if they were aware, with our old site, which I'll walk you through in the next couple slides, the old site that we had, they typically found it easier to create their own materials themselves anyways. And on the screen, you can see this was the result and a couple examples of the bad ads that we've come across. All right, and then the challenge. So how do you create brand consistency with limited field marketing resources? And the solution. So our first iteration of Marketing on Demand, also known as MOD, which is our marketing asset website, launched in 2013. And it launched a homepage and products, both customizable and non-customizable, much of what we have today, covering all materials such as flyers, posters, postcards, banners, things like that. The materials on the site were also legally and brand approved, which is really great since we had nothing like that put in place before, and there was the ability to download and print, as well as single sign-on features. So the site issues with our previous vendor. First off, it was confusing to navigate. The search didn't work properly. The products were in repeated locations where they weren't supposed to be. There was incorrect reporting. This was especially a big issue with us since we are a very numbers-driven company. The site itself had an old look. It felt outdated, and there wasn't much we could do to customize and mold to our brand needs. And then there were non-cohesive materials. So meaning the team at the time really added anything that was requested for by the field teammates, anything one-off, versus having a strategy and creating specific campaigns and categories that were in line with our company's mission. All right, so this kicked off our new vendor search. So getting on board with our previous vendor only fixed some of our issues of making sure the field didn't create their own marketing materials and to provide some brand consistency. Due to the site crashing issues, unreliable reporting, subpar customer service, we needed to find a new vendor. And here is some of what we needed to find within a new vendor to meet our criteria. We went through the RFP process, meeting with each of the sales teams, demoing the sites, and making sure that the vendors were able to support the features that we needed. And who was the winner? MarcomCentral. So we migrated everything from our old dinky little site to a brand new site, new customizable on-brand homepage with a whole new look and feel. Comparatively, it was much cleaner, and it is much cleaner and easier to navigate within the design. It's focused on key company objectives, and then overall just much more user-friendly. And here you can see this is just an example of our homepage. All right, and the steps it took to launch. So definitely anybody looking to launch needs a project manager and a support team. Lots of training as well to understand and get used to this new tool, which Marcom happily supports and provides you with that training. There's also hours and hours of spreadsheet mining, determining what materials we wanted on the site and how to categorize them. And then back-end database builds like single sign-on, homepage designs, back-end folders, Google Analytics, tracking, as well as working with our IT team. We also worked closely with our design team to create the design files, image options, copy drop-down options, and packaging everything together for uploading and programming. And then lastly, testing, and even more testing again. So the project manager, the broader support team, leadership, close field partners, beta testers, and many more tested the site before we launched. And now, MOD with MarcomCentral. So what's it like in the day-to-day life with MarcomCentral today? There's definitely more user-friendliness, and it's definitely easier to use, especially with customizing and ordering on the front end for users. There's better functionality, including our custom engineering product, which includes implementation with Google Maps. And this was a huge plus for us signing something with MarcomCentral. It shows, their ability to be innovative. There's also ability to show videos and play the videos within the portal. And countless materials we've been able to host on the site since transferring over. There's also accurate reporting. Like I mentioned with our old vendor, all the reporting was a hot mess all over the place. So this is one of the key reasons we wanted to find a new vendor. And with Marcom, they have much better reporting, lots of different ways to splice and dice your data, and understand usage and engagement. And finally, we also enhanced our print partner to an easier to work with and cheaper on-demand printer, all with the same high quality prints. All right, so mod by the numbers. Due to reporting issues from our past vendor, we cannot compare apples to apples with what we were tracking. However, so far this year, we are hosting over 100 marketing assets, everything from customizable materials to static materials to other things like outdoor signage, flag feather banners, DVDs, things like that. We also have over 2,600 average monthly unique users, and then there's over 1,600 average monthly download and print orders. All right, so some quick hits of the functionalities we're able to utilize with Marcom. First, custom engineering. Again, like I mentioned, this incorporates Google Maps into a product, which I had mentioned earlier, and is one of our biggest reasons we signed on with the company, because they were able to be innovative and had the technology to support custom engineering products for us. There's also a cleaner backend management, especially with the site organization. So as well as with the site organization, there is great custom front-end engineering to help meet our needs and make sure everything has our brand look and feel. The user integration as well. There were a lot of manual processes in the past that we had to deal with our old vendor. Like, for example, every time there was a new user that needed to be added to the site, we would have to do that manually. But with MarcomCentral, for example, the site automates and works with our IT and internal HR system to make that process manual and automated. And then a couple of other things. So allowing a multiple cost center feature for payment, which is really important for us. Multiple file types available and products through the site can be delivered in more than one ways. So that includes downloading it for free, ordering for print or emailed, and then other options to explore features, which we haven't quite dug too deep in yet, but it's great to know that there's a possibility of being able to integrate with PowerPoint, Salesforce, or Marketo integrations. All right, and the print-on-demand capabilities. So the print partner has been a really great partner, not only with their customer service and great turnaround times, but the fact that it makes it especially easy for the front-end user to be able to print directly from the site and have their material shipped directly to them is definitely a big win for us. And this slide just shows an example of how we explain the simplicity of the site to the field and making sure that it's as streamlined and straightforward as possible when explaining how users can find the site. So 3 easy steps: simple URL, browse and customize their materials as needed, and then order a print directly from the site, or they can download for free and print locally. And then the next few slides, I'm going to walk you through a couple of our examples. So here is an example of one of our static products. Static meaning it's non-customizable from a user perspective. And these are great for things that don't need any specific customization. So you can see here we have a video as well as a flyer, one-pager that doesn't need any specific customization. And then the next example is a version product. This shows the customization levels that are available, including, for this one specifically, the areas of the marketing piece being customized like you see here with the headline and subheadline. Other customizable attributes including an image gallery, which is available, a date and time that users can choose from, and center address and phone number listings options for this specific piece. So lots of different customization options and ways that you can set up your form. And then maintaining mod. So again, you definitely do need a PM like you do when you are transferring and going through that RFP process, but the project manager needs at least about 5 to 10 hours a week. Frequent site and product updates, which is what it includes in that 5 to 10 hours of maintaining. So things like homepage banners, we have a lot of updates on those that we like to feature different products on, updating the products themselves. There are multiple categories that need updating on an annual basis. So making sure to build in time for that. We've also gone through a couple of rebrands within the greater enterprise brand and other SBI brands as well within DaVita. Customer service, obviously, we have a specific inbox we've set up just for marketing on demand and dealing with the site issues, answering any questions, inquiries that come in, things like that. And then lastly, creative request forms. So this is utilized if marketing on demand doesn't meet the need of our field teammates, and we have a process in place to address this. So basically, it's just a form that they can fill out and submit to our team in order to make an edit for an already existing marketing on demand template that would go through the normal brand and legal review channel. So still allowing us to have that control there. And then a couple of other things, regular user surveys. So sending out quarterly satisfaction surveys to understand user site and experience. And again, just consistent awareness around the site and trainings. So that leads me into the self-service tool education. Like I mentioned, the site trainings, we want to bring consistent awareness around the site. So we host regular WebExes that train for marketing on demand and publish the recorded versions for people to access, kind of like what Jody and Matt are doing today. And then we also present at in-person field teammate meetings to get the word out, education through our stakeholder partnerships. So anyone that works really closely with the marketing team. For example, we have champions within the field that support our initiatives and get the word out about tools like this. And other SBIs that are invested in mod as well. And then lastly, internal communication. So through email blasts and getting the word out through our intranet. All right, so future, what's going on in the future? We are looking forward to expanding to support other DaVita SBIs that utilize and invest in this platform. We definitely want to expand our custom engineering, so utilizing that Google Maps product and not only having it live with one product, but expanding it across multiple where it makes strategic sense. And then continue to build upon feedback from the field users, and that includes things that come into our inbox, any questions, issues, and inquiries, as well as the quarterly surveys and the satisfaction that comes from that and the learnings that we get through our field teammates from there. And that is actually all I have for you today. I hope this was super helpful and you get a better understanding of the features and capabilities that MarcomCentral has to offer and how we've come to find it as a solution within DaVita Kidney Care. I will pass it back over to the MarcomCentral team, and of course, I'll stay on the line for any questions that anyone has.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pinka. Yeah, I always personally enjoy seeing how our partners are using our portal and our marketing on demand solution. So thank you again for that presentation. Just to remind everybody, we do have a couple questions in already, but if you have some questions now, you can get those in. A lot of them, Pinka, are focused towards you, and I think your input would be good, and I can help out on some of them as they pertain to MarcomCentral. But the first one you brought up about the users, but the question was how many users log into the system on a daily basis. I know there was a monthly number there, but do you have an estimate of about how many people are in there daily?
I don't have an exact number about daily. Monthly was the 2,600 unique users.
Right.
Broken down, I mean, you can definitely see it at a daily level from reporting. I just don't want to spit something off the top of my head just because I'm unsure about the daily.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, and I would say it, the daily versus monthly does depend on the use case of the platform and how you're using it. A sales rep might use it differently than, somebody in retail or in the use case that you used where it may be more of a daily use, but sometimes maybe it's weekly events or it's a monthly event. So no worries about that. The second question I think is a good question. It's a question that we are frequented with is how did you get the stakeholders on board with this new type of platform?
Sure. So I think a couple of the things, knowing that first off, that this was HIPAA compliant. So we're a healthcare company, and that was one of the major criterias and features that MarcomCentral was able to support, as well as the custom engineering. Again, this was one of our most popular one-off requested products, and Marcom was able to be innovative enough and have the technology to support custom engineering that we needed, and just really, demoing and showing the different stakeholders how great the platform was, and allowing them to be hands-on and kind of playing with the system themselves, I think was really helpful.
Perfect. Thank you. You answered this question in your presentation already, but I can share my answer here. So the question is, how often do you update materials in your system? So you talked about having the meetings and you review the system. I would say for us, having a system set up like this, a marketing on demand platform or distributed marketing platform or a digital asset management platform, a lot of the problems that maybe existed previously were you were playing catch up. So there would be content or assets that were created, and then you had to go back and try to catch those and fix them and make sure that they were on brand. But with a system like this, I think that the content creation in those meetings is more organic, and now it's proactive. So a lot of the content that's coming in now, it's okay to make sure, or I guess that it's already approved in the system, so you don't have to worry about checking to see if it's on brand because it went through the marketing, structures, and it went through the approval process already. And so for me and for our clients, that's a huge benefit as far as the update and upkeep of a system like this.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, Matt. And to build off of that, for DaVita specifically, we just went through a enterprise rebrand, like I mentioned earlier in the deck last year. So we had to update all of our files there. But again, like Matt mentioned, if the materials that you're uploading onto the site have gone through the proper review channels of your legal team, of your designers and brand team, et cetera, then there shouldn't need to be that much updating other than any strategy behind things that need to be updated. And then on top of it, for us, as a healthcare company, there's always different regulations, compliance concerns that come up. So we do need to make little tweaks here and there, but it is a seamless process if you do need to make that. And the Marcom team works really well and closely with you as well as their designers and your designers to make sure that all the updates are needed and made accordingly.
Perfect. Thank you. There's a question in here that we have from Crom Evely. I think it's a question that you might be able to answer. If not, I can try to go into it, and then we'll make sure that if we can't, we'll answer it offline after the webinar. But the question is there any benchmark data that can be shared about how often the print integration runs? And so I don't know how often you look at the analytics on your use case of the print integrations, but if you do, you can share that. But if not, I can answer.
Yeah, so I can give you specifics on, and I can pull that up real quick, Matt, if you want to go first on the breakdown of how often people are printing on our site. But again, for us, it's print on demand, so it is a little bit more costlier than if you were to have a warehouse. But yes, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say, you might not need to jump into the specifics. I think you answered a lot of the question there. And for me, I would say that our analytical backside of the tool is advanced as you need it to be. And we do have a lot of clients who are very print focused with our system, and so that integration is tied in very securely. And whether that's needed for ROI or whether it's needed for budgeting, all of that can be provided within the business intelligence section of MarcomCentral. And so I would say that is one of our strong points. It is something that we try to touch on, is you can see not just from the print side, but also from the digital delivery side. You can see how many assets are being used. You can see the type of assets. You can see whether they're static, like you were saying, or whether they were versioned. You can go down to the actual user. You can see which people are using what. But yeah, if Vinka, if you have the numbers, that would be helpful to see.
Yes, absolutely. Give me one moment.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, like Matt said, I mean, there's two routes to reporting, which I use both heavily. So there's the burst intelligence one where you can, hone down to see the different customizations people are using. And then as well as the monthly reporting that I pull, which is within Marcom's own system. That's the one where he's talking about, where you can see the breakdown of exactly who's ordering what. You could see the average amount of the number of print orders being made per day or per month or whatever that's needed for your insights. And then within this year, we have had, let me see here. We've had over 400 print orders, but through my breakdown, I have seen that a lot of people typically download their materials and print locally. And I think it's more of a convenience thing at that point.
Right.
For them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so those distribution methods are based on permissions that you could do. So that's a great answer. So users have the option to whether send to a printer, a print service provider, or they can download it and print digitally. And again, all of that can be set up through corporate marketing and permissioning. So perfect. That was great. The next question is, again, another frequent one. And it's based on the customization that you are allowing to the users. And so I wanted to hear maybe from your use case, and especially because you're in healthcare and it's highly regulated with HIPAA and with everything else, what are maybe some of the steps that you went through to ensure that the permissions based off of the users was in line with some of those standards, to ensure that there wasn't too much customization that was allowed, or maybe even too little?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, the way any marketing material is created within the company is creation with our brand team. So they are seasoned and they know all of the HIPAA violations and how to stay legally compliant. So we work with them to choose the images that are allowed to be customizable through the field. So things like approved teammate images or approved patient images that have already signed media release forms, for example. So once the materials actually get created, they get passed to our legal team, who will then provide feedback and any red lines. If they see anything non-compliant, we'll of course make updates to make it so that they are compliant. And then our customizations. So there are things like I mentioned, the image gallery, which our brand team will choose the images from that users can choose from. So image customizations, we also like to provide headline as well as sub-headline options, which are both brand and legally approved. Other customizations, like the example I showed earlier in the earlier slide, customizing, at a center level. So allowing people to enter in their center name, their center address, things like that, as well as a phone number for them to include in their call to action if they need. And then lastly, another fun customization that we've had after our rebrand is allowing them to choose different color combinations that will appear in the marketing material, which again was chosen by our brand team, not just them knowing our brand standards and what is compliant as well, are all some of the examples of the customizations that we offer.
Perfect, thank you. The next question by Mary Moon I can just answer real quick is, can you run reports based on location or cost center? And the short answer to that is yes. Sometimes it does, depending on the use case, can require an integration with maybe a CRM or something that you're using. But from the MarcomCentral side, you can certainly, anything that's purchased or placed, whether that's print or a digital download that has a fixed budget, can be broken down into that report. And the next question is by Jean. The question is, if you had static products that were only pertinent to a few locations, but not all locations, are you able to load those products that are only viewable and tied to a particular location? So I think this is a good question for you, but also for everybody in general. I can just give a quick example. One of our partners is one of the largest food chains in the United States, or world actually, and they have the franchisee owners aren't marketers, and so they have logins, and based off of their login and their user permissions, they're only allowed access to materials that pertain to their region or their specific location. So if you were in, say, Atlanta, Georgia, you could get static items that were only specific to those locations. The other situation could be set up to where it could be a versions template to where they could change it themselves. But I'm sure this is probably a system that you're utilizing as well. Okay, let me see. All right, there's only one question left, so if anyone has any questions, just make sure you get those in. So the last question is, again, a frequent question. So what are the forms of return on investment that you're looking at? And maybe not all of them are traditional. For some of our clients or partners, sometimes time saved or ease of use or company culture is a big aspect of this, Bianca. But if you have any thoughts on that, I'd be interested to hear that.
Yeah, I definitely would say that, time saved by the field, again, since we're healthcare, a lot of the people that are utilizing this site don't have a lot of time in their day. So, making sure that the site itself is as user-friendly, straightforward, intuitive, easy to use as possible for those clinical teammates is really important to us. And then on top of it, just really staying consistent with our brand and making sure that there is enough awareness about this tool in order to keep the brand consistency out there, to make sure, that your brand stays the same no matter who sees it or where they are.
Perfect. Okay, well, there are no more questions that I see. I want to thank you again, Bianca, for your presentation. And if there are any questions that come later on this presentation that anybody wants to get answered, we will definitely reach out to you and make sure that those are answered. So thank you again, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Thanks, everyone.